Discovered on a blind date, the surprising journey of a billionaire and a single mom of two, the whispers of judgment grew louder in Jen's mind as she stood in front of the mirror, staring into her own reflection. At 33, she was a single mom with two active children who depended on her, but what about her? Each day, she donned the cloak of selflessness, rising before dawn in their cozy Ohio suburb to whip up breakfast, shuffle her kids off to school, and plunge into her demanding job as a medical assistant. Yet deep inside, she felt like a ghost, living amid expectations that clad her like chains. Am I just a mom? She would ask herself countless times, a knot tightening in her chest. Just last week, her best friend Mia had insisted on setting her up on a blind date. It'll be fun. You deserve a break. But Jen trembled at the idea. The mere thought of flinging herself into an unfamiliar life felt like swimming upstream. Whether it was society's gaze or the pressure to excel in every role, she felt flimsy against it all. Can I dare to aspire for more? She thought as she rushed around, baking pancakes with one hand and packing lunches with the other. It seemed impossible. The specter of yearning for something greater, something distinctly hers, danced at the edges of her consciousness, yet she pushed it down, silencing it like an unruly child. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. It was another crisp fall evening when she reluctantly stepped into the restaurant, palms clammy and heart racing. The air was thick with expectation, and she could almost taste the anxiety on her tongue. Just as she was thinking of how to navigate the waters of small talk, the lights flickered and then plunged them into darkness. Jen's breath caught as anxiety spiraled within her. It was brief yet palpable, an unexpected pause that turned their mundane dining experience into something far from ordinary. She was seated across from David, who appeared like an enigmatic figure emerging from the chaos. He was casually dressed, exuding a warmth she hadn't anticipated. As they began to converse, an electricity built between them, sparking in the dim candlelight. But gradually, the air changed, and shadows flickered on the wall as the topic shifted his identity. Actually, my family runs a sizable portion of the local business sector, he admitted, the hesitance on his face unmistakable. Jen's heart sank. The weight of his status loomed over her, suffocating the budding connection they'd forged moments before. Could a billionaire truly understand the struggles she faces every day as a single mother? The chaotic mornings, the worry of financial burdens, the longing for personal identity beyond being just mom? The questions raced through her mind, and she felt the walls close in. Each laughter, each smile began to feel like a cruel reminder that they stood worlds apart. Could merging their lives truly be a possibility, or was she destined to be just another fleeting escape from his gilded life? The tension surged as she leaned closer, desperate to share her truth, yet fear held her tongue. Am I worthy of this connection? She thought, closing her eyes for a brief moment, holding on to the flickers of rebellion against self-doubt. But doubt lingered, a haunting reminder that as their worlds entwined, the truth lay just beneath the surface, waiting to unravel. Jen needed to confront her fears, and the stakes rose higher than the flames of the candles flickering in the dark. The candlelight danced between them, a tantalizing glow that seemed to mock the shadows in Jen's heart. She could feel the warmth of David's gaze, the intrigue that sparked each time their eyes met. The connection was palpable, yet her internal battle grew more tumultuous by the second. What if he really knew me? She thought, choking on the layers of her own persona. Did he see the woman who was more than a mother? Did he long for the essence of who she could be, rather than the version raised by expectations? With every passing moment, as they shared laughter and pleasantries, Jen's mind began to swirl with a mix of fear and exhilaration. She clenched her fists under the table. I want this. I want him, she admitted to herself, a startling revelation that filled her with both excitement and terror. But could her aspirations withstand the weight of who he was? As David recounted tales of his business ventures, his voice was filled with passion, and she huddled closer, drawn to the ambition that radiated from him. But her insecurities sprang forth. What do I have to offer? She questioned silently, questioning her career, her identity, a medical assistant who spent most days without acknowledgement. Yet as she listened to him describe challenges he faced, they resonated more than she anticipated. He struggles too, she realized, her heart swelling with a mixture of admiration and longing. Their conversation shifted toward families, and he asked about her children. Jen's chest tightened. This was the moment. Would she let fear dictate her life once again? Or would she peel back the layers and let him see the mosaic of her world? With a deep breath, she glanced at his genuine eyes, searching for understanding. They're my everything, she began, her voice steadying. I'm proud of being their mom. But sometimes I feel like I lose sight of who I was before they came along. The admission hung in the air, thick with vulnerability. David's response softened the sharp edges of her fear. It's tough to juggle everything, he empathized. I sometimes feel swallowed by my role as son, a businessman. But we're not just titles, we're people. There it was, the bridge. A flicker of connection that ignited something dormant within her. Perhaps this wasn't a fairy tale after all, but a chance to rewrite her narrative, yet even as hope glimmered, doubt lurked backstage. Can I truly step out of my comfort zone? Doubt pulled on her sleeve, whispering that she might falter. As the evening continued, Jen found herself conjuring visions of who she might be. A woman who owned her identity, embraced her imperfections, and dared to chase dreams. The idea exhilarated her, yet a disquieting sensation coiled in her gut. The duality of being a mother and an individual splintered her reality. What if pursuing this connection meant stepping away from her comfort? By the end of dinner, as David leaned in, his warm presence reassuring yet electrifying, Jen realized the choice before her. She had ventured into unfamiliar territory, and now she stood on the precipice. Reflecting deeply, she contemplated the path of personal growth, of resilience in the face of uncertainty. The moment felt pivotal, and Jen understood what lay ahead: transformative choices that could either lead her closer to freedom or to the shackles of her former self. The noise faded, and all she could hear was the pounding of her heart urging her to leap. What next? Am I brave enough to see what we could become? And with that question lingering like an unspoken promise between them, Jen made a choice that could irrevocably alter the trajectory of her life. The time had come to face the truth of her desires, but would she find the strength to seize the moment? The day after her dinner with David left Jen teetering between exhilaration and a torrent of self-doubt. She spent the morning preparing for work, yet her mind drifted far from the tasks at hand. She meticulously arranged files, but each time she clicked her pen or filed another chart, a question loomed large: could she really embrace this new version of herself? Within the confines of the medical office, Jen felt her identity shrink back into the husk of compliance. All day, the rhythm of her routine wrapped around her like a familiar but constricting cocoon. She bantered with coworkers, yet her laughter felt hollow, a mere echo of the vibrations from the night prior. Each patient encounter reminded her of who she was: an attentive assistant, a supportive colleague, an invisible fixture in a demanding world. Rachel, her work best friend, noticed the shift in Jen's energy. "You've got that look," she said, nudging her during a slow moment in the reception area. "What's brewing behind those eyes?" Jen hesitated, weighing the risks of disclosure. "I had dinner with someone," she allowed, her voice a whisper as she leaned closer. "An incredible guy. He's different. Successful. Ambitious." Rachel's eyes widened with interest. "Tell me more. What's the deal?" It wasn't just dinner, it was a moment of revelation. Jen practiced the words on her tongue, feeling their weight. I want to be more than just a mother or a medical assistant. I want to pursue my dreams, maybe even further my education or start a new project that excites me. It's terrifying, she confessed, her voice trembling. That's amazing. Rachel exclaimed, her enthusiasm sparking a flicker of affirmation in Jen's heart. You should take that leap. It's not easy juggling everything, but what if you can? You owe it to yourself to try. Yeah, but what if I fail? Jen countered, her uncertainty burgeoning, threatening to snuff out the glimmer of confidence that Rachel had ignited. What if I'm not good enough? That's a risk I can't afford to take. Not good enough for what? Rachel's frustration was palpable, urging Jen to confront the source of her doubts. You're already enough. You're juggling 2 kids and a full-time job. You were sure of yourself before. This is just adding another layer. Embrace it. The idea rattled in Jen's mind like a pinball. Could she reclaim that certainty within herself? It was one thing to want more, it was another to believe she could achieve it. Each breath in felt like a battle, but amidst the struggle was a fragile thread of determination weaving its way through her insecurities. Later that evening, alone in her living room, Jen draped herself across the couch, her heart racing once more. She pulled out her phone and browsed for online courses. As the words flashed on the screen, she marveled at the possibilities: leadership programs, business management degrees, certifications in healthcare administration. This could be the start, she whispered, summoning belief. As her fingers hovered over the Enroll Now button, she hesitated. The weight of her children's expectations, her role as their primary caretaker, burdened her thoughts with residual guilt. Would she be neglecting them in pursuit of her aspirations? Yet, wouldn't they benefit from seeing their mother chase her dreams? The question echoed hollowly in her mind, and time slowed as she processed the implications of her decision. Taking the step toward her dreams would also mean inviting change into their lives, requiring balance, honesty, and commitment. Drawing a deep breath, Jen's trembling fingers finally struck the screen, committing herself to this new journey. As she hit Enroll Now, a rush of adrenaline surged through her. But it was accompanied by trepidation, a whisper of doubt that lingered in the corners of her mind, rekindling her fears about balancing motherhood with personal ambition. In this moment, she was aware of a newfound responsibility toward herself and her children. Jen's heart raced as excitement mingled with anxiety. Tonight, she had taken a step towards reclaiming her identity. Yet she sensed the impending reality of struggle lurking on the horizon. What lay ahead? Could she maintain equilibrium, or would the strain of her choices fracture her family? As she sat in the fading light, Jen felt the electric pulse of potential and peril intertwine, leaving her breathless with anticipation and fear. Would she navigate these new waters, or would the waves overwhelm her? As the days rolled into weeks, Jen felt the tremor of her decision reverberate through her life. Each morning, as the sun broke through her kitchen window, she pressed her fingers against the keyboard, engaging in courses that challenged her intellect and awakened a long-dormant ambition. The newfound knowledge invigorated her, like a refreshing breeze that stirred a stagnant air. Yet, with each lesson, doubts resurfaced, gnawing at her resolve. At work, the absence of her previous routine loomed like a thick haze. No longer did she feel merely like a supporting cog in the machine, she sensed an invisible tether pulling her between her emerging ambitions and the expectations of her role. The softer conversations with patients now felt burdened by the urgency of her personal aspirations. Would they still view her as merely Jen, the medical assistant, if she dared to chase something greater? Could they accept her transformation? Rachel noticed the subtle changes but also the tension that threaded through Jen's demeanor. "You seem different," she remarked one afternoon, her brows furrowing as she watched Jen organize patient files with a newfound focus. "In a good way, but also, there's something else. You're carrying a weight." "It's just I don't know how to balance everything," Jen admitted, her voice lower than normal. "I'm still figuring out who I want to be, and it feels like I'm caught between rushing forward and holding back." Rachel leaned back in her chair, contemplating. "You need to define what success looks like for you. Not what others expect or what society demands. Forget the checklist. What makes your heart race with excitement? The query landed within Jen like a soft but firm question mark, reverberating within the chambers of her self-doubt. What did success mean to her? Was it a prestigious title, financial independence, or something inherently different, a sense of fulfilled potential? She realized she hadn't just enrolled in classes, she had embarked on a journey toward self-discovery. That night, while the house settled into sleep, Jen took out a notebook and began to write. She penned down thoughts about her dreams, not the ones that catered to obligations or expectations, but the wild, limitless aspirations she had buried under layers of responsibility. She envisioned herself as a leader, someone equipped with knowledge and skill sets that could transform not only her life but potentially the lives of others. The more she wrote, the more she felt a fierce determination kindle within. The next morning, she ventured into the world with a clarity she hadn't experienced before. She approached her day with intention, embracing challenges with a newfound fervor. She initiated discussions during team meetings, expressed opinions even when they strayed from the norm, and volunteered for responsibilities that scared her. Each step into the uncomfortable pushed her boundaries, allowing little moments of triumph to replace long-standing insecurities. One afternoon, amid rushed interactions and ringing phones, her supervisor, Dr. Harris, called her into his office. Jen's heart raced, echoing the uncertainty brewing within her. Had she overstepped her bounds? But as she entered his office, a measure of confidence she hadn't recognized bolstered her posture. "Jen, I've noticed your engagement has soared recently," Dr. Harris commented, his face betraying no expectations. "It's commendable, and I think we might have some opportunities for you to take on more responsibility. I believe you're capable of much more than you show." His words struck like a bell, flickering her potential. "Thank you, Dr. Harris," she responded, feeling the stir of recognition blossom inside her chest. This acknowledgement, coupled with her recent imperfections in balancing home and dreams, ignited a reinforcement of her capabilities, but as the echo of his praise lingered, doubt piped back in. The newfound responsibilities could drain her, could encroach upon her familial obligations. What would this mean for her children? As moments of excitement turned to those of dread, she understood a delicate tightrope loomed ahead. With her heart now tethered to her aspirations, balancing them with motherhood proved to be a challenge she was unprepared for. Reality reared its head, reminding her of the stakes at play. Would she rise to embrace her evolving role, or would she falter in the shadows of old fears, risking all that she had built? The moment of reckoning was creeping closer, and she couldn't escape the growing awareness that she was destined to face not just decisions, but deeper conflicts that threatened her very core. Would embracing her ambitions ultimately tear her apart, or could she weave them into the fabric of the life she longed for? As she stared into the mirror, the weight of her choices loomed. Large decisions awaited that would test her mettle. Would she grab hold of the steering wheel of her destiny or succumb to the relentless pull of her past? The answer was yet to reveal itself, and with it, the future she dared to pursue remained tantalizingly uncertain. Each day, Jen felt herself sliding deeper into the labyrinth of ambition and anxiety. The new responsibilities promised growth and recognition, yet they felt like adding bricks to an already heavy backpack. With each passing hour, the balancing act between personal aspirations and motherhood threatened to tip the scale. One evening, she found herself sitting at the kitchen table, surrounded by homework clutter and the faint sound of the television in the background. Children's laughter echoed from the living room, a stark contrast to the whirlwind of worry swirling in her mind. How could she nurture her dreams while ensuring her young ones still felt her presence? Time was scarce, it was an unrelenting thief. In her notebook, she had scribbled countless plans for how to make it work, yet they lay incomplete, as scattered as her thoughts. Every bullet point, every meticulously crafted schedule faced the unyielding reality of her children's needs. This internal battle pushed her to the brink. The more she fought for clarity, the muddier her path seemed. "Mom, can you help me with my project?" Lily's voice broke through the chaos, reminding Jen of her foremost duty. Her heart quickened not just from the request but from the realization that these fleeting moments shaped her children's perception of her. "Of course, honey," Jen managed, masking her turmoil with a smile. But as they worked together, her mind wandered to the upcoming training session at work. Would she seize this chance to shine, or would she flounder under the weight of doubt? Every moment felt like an audition, balancing between the roles of mother and professional. As the days unfolded, pressure mounted. An email from Dr. Harris regarding her upcoming presentation landed like an unexpected gust of wind. "Prepare to showcase your ideas," it read, simple yet daunting. This was her moment to step into the role she had envisioned, yet the prospect sent her spiraling into doubt. That evening, Jen threw herself into preparation, thrumming with nervous energy. Quietly, she paced the living room, practicing her presentation in front of an imaginary audience. Each repetition was bolstered by flashes of excitement flickering within her. This could be her defining moment. But each time she glanced at her children, still engrossed in their playful shenanigans, guilt whispered in her ear, reminding her of the time she might be stealing from them. In the background, a documentary played featuring a successful entrepreneur discussing balance and sacrifices made along the journey. The juxtaposition stirred something within Jen, a mix of inspiration and apprehension. Was it possible to be both a dedicated mother and a burgeoning professional? As the employee she was stepping into required assertiveness and tenacity. Did that mean she had to forge a path devoid of warmth at home? That night, sleep eluded her. She sat on the edge of her bed, hands gripping the fabric of her coverlet. The internal conflict escalated, each fear growing louder than the last. What if she wasn't good enough? What if, in chasing her ambitions, she lost sight of what mattered most? Time was slipping through her fingers, and the days leading up to her presentation felt increasingly charged with stakes she hadn't anticipated. As she lay there, the faint hum of the children's breathing reverberated like a soothing balm, but with a sharp undercurrent of anxiety. The biggest hurdle she faced wasn't the presentation itself, but what it meant for her heart. The split between the woman she aspired to be and the mother they needed her to be. The day of the presentation loomed like a gathering storm. Would she crumble, or would she rise to meet her fears head-on? With the clock ticking down to the moment she would stand in front of her colleagues, one thought dominated her mind: was this the beginning of truly embracing her potential, or would the path she chose unravel the fabric of her family life? As she buttoned up her shirt, one thing remained certain: the decision she was about to face next could redefine everything. The threshold loomed, and she couldn't shake the feeling that a monumental change awaited just beyond it. Would she turn the key to her future or watch it slip away? Stepping out of the car, Jen felt the weight of anticipation transform into a palpable energy that coursed through her veins. The office building loomed ahead, its glass facade reflecting her uncertainty. Today was more than just a presentation, it was a declaration of her determination, a pivotal step towards reshaping her identity. As she approached the entrance, she noticed a group of colleagues gathering, their animated chatter puncturing the air around her. Tension twisted in her stomach, but with every firm step, she reminded herself of the meticulous preparation that had filled her evenings in the last weeks. They may see a confident professional, but with each heartbeat, her inner critic threatened to unearth doubts that had taken root during sleepless nights. Once inside, she took a moment to absorb her surroundings: the muted colors of the walls, the scent of freshly brewed coffee lingering in the air. Each detail registered like a challenge, fueling her resolve. She approached the meeting room, pausing to glimpse her reflection in a glass panel. The woman staring back looked the part, yet her eyes revealed turmoil. Could she truly blend the dual roles she strived to embody? The presentation felt like walking a tightrope, one misstep threatening to topple her balance. As her colleagues settled, she reminded herself of the purpose behind her efforts. The drive to showcase her ideas would pave the way for unpredictable growth, not just professionally but personally. The initial moments passed in a blur. Yet, as she launched into her presentation, the quirky data and polished visuals began to anchor her thoughts. The queries from her audience ignited an unexpected spark. Her expertise manifested, and she felt the tension of intimidation melt away. A rush of clarity settled in. This was her moment to reveal not only her professional potential but the ambition that defined her. With each question, she saw more than just her colleagues staring back. She glimpsed her own determination reflected in their eyes. She articulated ideas she had nearly buried beneath the weight of doubt. For the first time in months, she felt a connection forming, a bridge between her aspirations and her current reality. Midway through the presentation, a bold question emerged from Dr. Harris, one that sliced through her prepared points. "Jen, how do you envision balancing your professional advancements with your commitments at home?" His eyes searched hers, a seeming challenge that echoed her inner conflict. It was no longer a sterile question, it struck at the heart of her struggle. In that instant, clarity surfaced amidst her storm of anxieties. "I see my experiences at home as strengths rather than burdens," she responded, energy rippling through her. "The chaos of motherhood has taught me flexibility and the power of resilience." With each passing second, the audience leaned in closer, curiosity igniting in their expressions. Then, as she continued, a subtle realization brushed against her consciousness. Could the vulnerability of her dual identity actually amplify her effectiveness as a leader, a colleague, and a mother? This complex interplay of roles might not just threaten to unravel her life, it could weave together a richer tapestry of who she was becoming. With the presentation concluding, Jen felt a swell of pride. She had faced her fears, embraced vulnerability, and emerged empowered. Yet, glancing around the room, she sensed a shift. The air was electric with recognition. The seed she had planted throughout her talk awaited nurturing, both professionally and personally. As the meeting adjourned and compliments flowed in, Jen's heart raced not with euphoria, but with trepidation. The applause was a reminder of newfound expectations both from others and herself. Could she sustain this momentum, further intertwining her ambitions with her personal life? And just as she contemplated her next steps, her phone buzzed in her pocket. A message lit up the screen, one that turned her newly minted confidence into a tremor of uncertainty. "We need to talk. It's about the project and your future here." This was not an invitation to celebrate, it was a summons that could redefine everything she had just worked to achieve. More than just her professional path hinged on the outcome of this conversation, it rippled into the very fabric of her family life. Would she discover opportunity, or was it another layer of the labyrinth tightening around her? Jen's heart thudded as she read the message again, the implications unfurling into her mind like an unwelcome banner. "We need to talk." The words felt sharp, a warning siren piercing through the glow of her hard-won confidence. Could this really be about an opportunity, or was it some lurking threat regarding her place in the company? She slipped her phone back into her pocket, composing herself for the potential storm ahead. The meeting with Dr. Harris loomed larger than the presentation itself, a cliff that she dared not peek over until the moment arrived. Half an hour felt like an eternity as she wandered through her thoughts, clinging to the duality she had discovered in herself. The exhilaration of expressing her insights during the presentation still lingered, giving her a fragile sense of buoyancy against the impending storm. Each memory of her bold address challenged the mounting anxiety that threatened to sink her again. When the meeting finally commenced, Jen entered Dr. Harris's office with an air of cautious determination, her mind racing ahead to every possible outcome. She smoothed her blouse, willing herself to focus on the chance to assert her vision rather than the implications of the request. Dr. Harris sat behind his neatly organized desk, an inviting cup of tea resting before him like an innocent introduction to a serious discussion. Still, his expression remained unreadable, equally neutral and probing. "Thank you for coming in, Jen," he began, his tone steady. "Your presentation today was impressive." "Thank you," she replied, her voice steady even as her heart raced beneath her calm exterior. It felt like the moment of reckoning she had been preparing for, yet something in her gut warned her that it could lead to peril rather than opportunity. "I appreciated your take on integrating home experiences into your professional growth," he continued. "But it also raises some concerns about the pressures that might accompany such aspirations." As he spoke, Jen felt a slight chill settle around her. Was he worried about her ability to manage both realms? The very concern that had haunted her whispered in her ear, clawing at her confidence. "I assure you, I'm committed to finding the balance," she interjected, her voice gaining strength. My personal life has only broadened my perspective and resilience in this professional environment. Dr. Harris's brows knitted together pensively. Engagement at work is necessary, but I must address that we've been considering restructuring some roles in light of recent shifts in the company. Your ambition is commendable, but there's the reality of workload and expectations. A rush of possibilities flooded Jen's mind. Could there be a new role for her? Was this an opportunity to rise further within the company, or was it a suggestion to step back? Each scenario conflicted with the progress she had just made in defining who she was both professionally and personally. What are you suggesting? Jen asked, trying to keep her voice steady. She refused to hide her ambition under a bushel dictated by fear of judgment. The potential for a leadership position could be open for you, but it would require absolute focus, possibly even a relocation. It's critical to know your willingness to fully commit. The weight of his words descended heavily on her, a fog of responsibility clouding her thoughts. Did this mean abandoning her current role, her established connections at work, her children's routine? The prospect of leading loomed alluringly, yet the tug of maternal duty held her firmly rooted. I want to grow, but my family is my core, she declared, vulnerability creeping into her response. There's a delicate balance, he said thoughtfully, and for a brief moment, there was an understanding in his gaze that flickered like a flame through uncertainty. The acknowledgement of her dual struggles was unexpected yet comforting. Whatever the outcome, I want to harness both aspects of my life, she found herself stating boldly. I will not see one as overshadowing the other. As the conversation moved towards practicalities, options began to take shape, yet shadows of doubt lingered. She was stepping into new territory, and every revelation reframed her internal narrative. When Jen left Dr. Harris's office, her head spun with possibilities, yet the clarity she had gained since the presentation felt like a lifeline. No longer did she view her roles as entities in conflict. Rather, each was essential in defining the woman she aimed to become. Just as she reached her car, a sudden thought pierced through her thoughts, igniting a new flame of determination. What if this was just the beginning of a singular opportunity that could unite both her personal and professional aspirations? As she sat behind the wheel, she realized she stood on the edge of transformation, a jump into the unknown. But would she land gracefully, or was she on the cusp of a dangerous tightrope walk where one misstep could threaten everything she had so carefully woven together? As Jen sat in her car, her thoughts swirled like a tempest. She was no longer the hesitant employee, lost in the throes of self-doubt. The potential for a leadership position had awakened a fire within her, one that kindled not just ambition but foresight into the possibilities that lay ahead. But with that fire came the realization that embracing this opportunity would mean navigating a labyrinth of personal sacrifices and professional expectations. The pulse of her heart echoed in time with her thoughts. She could envision herself as a leader, standing at the helm of innovative projects, guiding teams with the confidence she now felt surging. But what price would it exact from her family life? Could she truly balance the monumental responsibilities of a career with her commitment as a mother? Each vision of success brought with it shadows of trade-offs that clawed at her resolve. Taking a deep breath, Jen resolved to map out her next steps. She would begin a series of conversations, first with her children. They needed to understand why their mother was contemplating a path that would stretch her time and attention. But she also had to prepare herself for potential resistance. Change was always fraught with uncertainty. Yet, recognition dawned: her children deserved to see their mother thrive. It would be a lesson in resilience not just for her, but for them as well. Her next destination would be her closest friend, Sarah, whose own career had seen its share of challenges and triumphs. They had bonded over late-night discussions filled with shared ambitions and fears, and this time would be no different. Jen needed to drill down into her potential choices, to weigh the pros and cons with someone who understood her deeply. In her mind, Jen began strategizing points for discussion: how she envisioned a new role, the importance of her family's input, and the desire to merge her personal and professional lives rather than segregate them. The thought struck her: this was not simply about advancement, but about creating a holistic life where all her pieces fit together. Sarah's cozy living room offered a reprieve from the emotional weight of her decisions. As Jen curled up on the sofa, a warm cup of herbal tea in hand, she felt the familiar comfort of friendship wash over her. The small room, adorned with twinkling fairy lights, mirrored the spontaneity and lightness Jen craved amid the uncertainty looming over her. "Okay, spill it. You look like you've just unearthed a treasure map," Sarah teased, settling in with her own cup. Jen smiled, though her nerves fluttered at her friend's encouragement. "It's about the meeting with Dr. Harris. It's much bigger than I anticipated, and I'm trying to figure out what it means for my family and me." As she recounted the exchange, Sarah listened intently, her brow knitted in concentration. When Jen finished, she found herself grasping for Sarah's insights, desperate for another perspective. "Jen, this could be your chance to redefine what success looks like for you. But you have to decide what that looks like," Sarah said, her tone serious yet supportive. "If anyone can navigate this, it's you. But you must be crystal clear on what you want." The clarity in her friend's gaze illuminated something dormant within Jen. A revelation unfurled: she needed to articulate her aspirations with unwavering confidence. She could delineate what success meant, not dictated by traditional standards, but rooted in her values and experience. As they moved deeper into discussion, Jen began to elucidate her thoughts, experimenting with language that reflected not just her ambitions but her commitments. It felt like stepping onto a stage for the first time, and with every word, she saw the outline of her future materializing in bold strokes. When the conversation concluded, Jen felt invigorated yet settled. It was the first step in a delicate dance between aspirations and realities, and she was ready to take the plunge. But as she prepared to embrace this transformation, a nagging thought gripped her: was she truly ready? For all that lay ahead? Just as the sun dipped below the horizon, casting shadows across the room, Jen's resolve sharpened. This was not just an opportunity, it was a metamorphosis of her identity. Yet, with rebirth came risk, and she understood that embracing this shift would demand everything from her. Could she cultivate both family and ambition without losing sight of herself? The moment of confrontation with her own value system loomed close. The choices ahead would be pivotal, tracing the outline of her future life. What stood in the way of her becoming the leader she aspired to be? What unseen dependencies still needed reckoning? Jen spent the next few days in a state of constant reflection. Each morning, she awoke with the sun, her mind racing with the conversations she had with Sarah and her looming responsibilities as both a mother and a professional. The challenge lay not just in overcoming her fears but in embracing the journey ahead, one that blurred the lines between personal sacrifices and professional growth. The pivotal moment had arrived, a dinner with her children to discuss the changes on her horizon. It felt strange to sit them down this way. The kitchen table, typically a place of laughter and shared stories, now felt heavy with the weight of impending decisions. She could read the trepidation in their eyes as she placed the cutlery in front of them, an expert at masking feelings but internally wrestling with her own turmoil. "Mom, is everything okay?" Her eldest, Mia, asked, her youthful curiosity tempered by concern. "Yes, sweetie. Everything's fine," Jen assured, her voice steady. Yet, inside she grappled with the complex tapestry of her emotions. Part of her longed to shield them from the turbulence of adult choices, while another, stronger part recognized that this was a pivotal lesson about courage. Taking a deep breath, Jen began slowly, weaving her aspirations into a narrative they could understand. "I've been given an opportunity to take on more responsibility at work. It's something I'm excited about, but it will also mean spending more time away from home." She watched as they considered her words, trying to maintain an openness that invited questions rather than shutting them down. There were moments when she caught their questions lingering unasked. What would daily life look like if she stepped into this new role? What would happen during school pickups, weekend soccer games, and family movie nights? Will we see less of you? Mia's voice, a mixture of dread and hope, cut through the air. Jen hesitated, a torrent of guilt flooding over her. She was torn between the vision of her professional self and the vision of the mother she always strived to be. "You'll still see me. But I need your support. This is about all of us and showing you that pursuing your dreams is a part of life. I want to show you that you can chase what you love and still be here for each other." There was a silence, thick with the realization that life was indeed changing. Gradually, the initial shock gave way to spirited discussions among them, led by 16-year-old Ethan. He understood the concept of ambition as a blend of responsibility and rewards. "If you think it's worth it, then I'm in," he stated, the passion in his voice instilling a sense of pride in Jen. When they finished discussing, there was a palpable shift in the atmosphere. Jen recognized the dual timeline of her life, one where she was a committed mother and another where she could reshape her professional destiny. Perhaps she could forge a new path, where family and ambition intertwined rather than being at odds. Empowered by her children's support, she felt renewed strength. Her next strategic step would be aligning with her employer's expectations and setting clear boundaries to ensure she did not drown in her new responsibilities. It was a crucial moment for her to not just accept the roles being thrust upon her but to define them openly. Later, as she prepared materials for her upcoming meeting with Dr. Harris, adrenaline coursed through her. She had connected with her inspiration, the fire within her reignited. Her heart raced as she envisioned articulating her vision clearly and confidently in that critical discussion. Yet, even amidst this excitement lay doubt. Would her enthusiasm translate effectively in a formal environment? What if her proposals were rejected? A simmering anxiety swelled just beneath her skin, fueling a determination that was both exhilarating and terrifying. The time had come for her to confront more than just the internal hesitations. She would face Dr. Harris and the committee with her newfound clarity and strength. As the evening wore on and she prepared to retreat to bed, she couldn't shake the feeling that this was just the beginning of an uncharted territory, a dynamic collision of her ambitions and her unwavering commitment to her family. Her heart raced at the thought, but she pressed forward, knowing the real work of transformation was only beginning. What awaited her in that meeting, she wondered. Would she brave the storm, ready to channel this new energy into convincing others of her vision, or would the very weight of her ambition drag her down? All at once, the air shifted. She knew a decision loomed just beyond her grasp. The day had arrived for Jen to step into a new chapter of her life, and she could feel the electric anticipation coursing through her veins. As the sun rose, casting warm light across her kitchen, she repeated affirmations like a mantra, reinforcing her resolve. She was not just a medical assistant or a mother, she was a woman with aspirations and a vision that extended beyond societal expectations. Arriving at the office, Jen's heart harmonized with her steady breath. This was more than a meeting, it was the culmination of her hard work, her personal growth, and the courage she had mustered to admit her desire for more, a leader in her field, advocating for herself and others. She walked past her colleagues with newfound confidence, feeling the residual energy of her recent conversations with Ethan and Mia empower her. When she entered Dr. Harris's office, his keen gaze held nothing but a professional curiosity, yet Jen felt the weight of her transformation grounding her. "Welcome, Jen. I appreciated your follow-up on our last discussion," he said, gesturing for her to sit. "Thank you, Dr. Harris. I've been considering the opportunities and challenges that come with increased responsibility, and I want to discuss how I can step into a leadership role while maintaining a balance at home." As the words flowed from her lips, she marveled at the clarity of her intent. It was no longer a matter of negotiation but of asserting her needs and expectations. Dr. Harris leaned forward, intrigued. As they delved into a conversation about potential projects that required innovative leadership, she realized the contours of her career path were opening like doors in tandem with boldness. Every idea she shared felt right. She was describing not just what was possible, but what she was already envisioning for her team and her future. Then, in a moment that felt both surreal and perfectly aligned, she presented her vision of a work-life balance that would support her growth and the well-being of her family. "I've learned that supporting my children's ambitions can coexist with my aspirations. If I lead by example, they will understand the importance of chasing dreams. A slow smile crept across Dr. Harris's face. I admire your perspective, Jen. This approach integrating your personal insights is what we need more in leadership positions. The excitement that spread through her was palpable. As the conversation continued, she could feel the validation of her efforts solidifying around her. She had accomplished her goal in that room, proving to herself that merging her identity as a mother and a professional was not only viable but vital. Yes, I am ready for a leadership role, and I believe being a mother makes me a stronger leader, she asserted, her voice unyielding. The dialogue shifted toward the next steps, and Jen realized she was being considered for a significant project that aligned perfectly with her capabilities, a role that demanded innovation and resilience. Afterward, as she walked away from Dr. Harris's office, high on the adrenaline of accomplishment, Jen felt reborn. She recognized now that her identity was multifaceted, and rather than being confined to the definitions placed by others, she wielded the power to shape it herself. Students, mothers, professionals, these were not disconnected pieces of herself but strands in one resilient tapestry that showcased her strength. Carrying that newfound vision, she devoted time that evening discussing her plans with Ethan and Mia. They listened intently as she outlined the project, intertwining her responsibilities as a leader with her commitment to being present for them. Mom, you're already doing it. Mia exclaimed, excitement radiating in her voice. Yes. And this balance will only show you both how to pursue what you love while being responsible for others, Jen replied, feeling satisfaction bloom at their enthusiasm. This was her achievement, a firm foundation on which she could build her future. With each passing week, Jen thrived in her new role and was recognized not just as a capable medical assistant but as a leader who brought a unique perspective to her team. She implemented new protocols and fostered collaboration, her influence paving the way for positive changes. Recognition came in the form of accolades during staff meetings and a promotion that validated her hard work. As she walked through the hospital corridors, colleagues now acknowledged her as a mentor, and Jen felt an innate sense of belonging blossom in her heart. Her journey had not merely transformed her career but also reshaped her self-perception. She was more than just mom or the assistant. She was a force to be reckoned with, a confident, competent woman who understood the importance of being multifaceted. In relishing in this success, Jen found herself more present at home, creating cherished moments with her children. Each night, they settled together to share stories of their days, a tapestry woven together by their aspirations, fears, and triumphs. She became the embodiment of her hopes, proving that embracing one's ambitions does not necessitate sacrificing bonds, rather, it enriches them. From the day of her blind date with David to this poignant reality of self-actualization, she had traversed a landscape of doubt and uncertainty, emerging with a new understanding of who she truly was. Sure of herself, she recognized that she wielded control over her identity and destiny, emboldened by her authentic journey. This growth, this profound transformation, affirmed Jen's powerful message: you can conquer challenges, embrace your individuality, and inspire those around you. As this chapter closed, she was resolved to continue pursuing not only her professional aspirations but to remain ever mindful that individual fulfillment fuels the flame of family love. With a confident heart and a clear vision, she was ready to embrace everything life had to offer. Now, if you're ready to follow more journeys of resilience and personal triumph, here's your chance. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive emotional stories that ignite your own spark. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and show you're invested in these incredible tales of transformation. Comment below your reactions and theories about Jen's journey and how she faced her life-changing decisions. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion and inspire their own journeys. You need to support the channel, don't wait even one more second.